Heyo, Plaidman here. Same day, so I haven't shaved, but I added a hat and a different outfit so that it's a different video. I want to continue and hopefully get through as much of the, my thing looks off. As much of the, gosh dang it, as much of the Wheel of Time stuff as I possibly can. I will just start off by saying I really did not like this show. I love fantasy very, very much. I love this book series. It is probably my favorite book series of all time. Definitely my favorite fantasy series of all time. I just don't know if book series... It's amazing. Like, it's just so amazing. Really, I suggest anybody read it. My wife is halfway through the series. I've gone through it 3 or 4 times now. I don't even know how I found out about it. It's just one of those book series that's just so phenomenal and so expansive. And this is a really good example of how it's kind of the best and the worst of all worlds, in the sense of, hey, there's a lot of money behind this Wheel of Time. They didn't put as much money behind it as they did in Lord of the Rings, but that's okay. But I feel, and supposedly the people involved are like really big fans, but there's also this like permeating dark element of Hollywood that likes to change and modify things to suit their own purposes. And I feel like that resonates and shows in this series especially, and especially considering that I've read the books and I understand the books and love the books, so it's kind of weird to like see it so blatant. Anyhow, I already did episode 1 and episode 2, so now I'm doing episode 3, and this is kind of a weird situation where I'm reading from the thing and then remembering it. I did watch it, and now I'm talking about it, so sorry. Okay, in episode 3, I'm not going to go over everything that happens, but there's this moment where a character, Nynaeve, defeats a Trolloc and like surprises him and defeats it. You have to understand, a Trolloc is like 9 feet tall. So 9 feet tall, just all muscle, just sheer, and she surprises and stabs him, and I'm like, for sure as it's not in the book, which is a common thread, like most of these complaints, it's because it's not the same way in the book. But it's also just ridiculous. You have a person who, for all intents and purposes, has 0 training whatsoever, and because of the surprise, gets the better of this Trolloc, which is designed and bred for war. It's ridiculous. The music was cool. The artwork in general, like the intro thing, was so beautiful, so well done. I was like, cool, I like this. This is the thing that came up, is like, the party split into 2 separate groups, kind of, 3 technically, and both Matt and Rand are over, like, suddenly they're by the ocean, and it's like, what? How did you go from a river, clearly no ocean in sight, to you're right there? Like, are you in Los Angeles? Like, how does that work? And in no time. So it wasn't like days and days, it was just there. And that's a common thread throughout this whole first season, is towards the end, they indicate how much time has transpired, but it's like, oh yeah, like 2 months. And you're like, what? How far away is everything? Like, what? Just the scale is so janky, so messed up. No real concept of how far they've traveled and how long it takes to travel in that, on horseback or walking. It's just kind of like, and you're left there being like, I don't understand, what the heck? So Matt and Rand are over by the ocean, and you're like, that doesn't make sense. And then reversely, even though they originated from the same spot, Perrin and Egwene, or however you pronounce her name, are over in desert, like basically a barren or high plateau area, like the east side of Washington State. And you're just like, what? Where? How? That's not how geography works, guys. It's not, very few places in the world are so bipolar in their geography where you can do that. And even those, it's like in LA, which is where I live, you can go from the mountains to the ocean in an hour in a car, not on horseback, not, oh, I washed up on on the river, and then I just came out and I'm in a whole new zone. So it's extra, it's annoying, and it's not cool. I will say this though, the scenery is gorgeous. So wherever they shot it and wherever they did it is beautiful, and I appreciate that. I'm not knocking the scenery, and even the shots they did to show the scenery, that was great. There's this other thing, like Rand and Matt were supposed to be in a boat, and then transported like on a boat goes exponentially faster than walking. For like 7 days, they're on this riverboat going down south. So, and that's where they meet a famous character in the show called Tom Maryland. But they skipped that. And it was just like, oh yeah, they washed up, and then they're like, oh, we're going to walk, I guess. And it's like, I don't understand why you guys did this. I don't understand why you took this out. And I'm not trying to be an a-hole. I just feel like this whole series tried to cram 2 or 3 books into one season, which is not the way to do it. It would have been hard to cram 1 season, 1 book. That would have been hard to do, but doable. But they decided not to do that for some reason, and I don't understand. And instead, they're jamming 2 or 3 books into one, and they're nitpicking certain things, and it's like, what? I don't understand. Yeah, so the whole White Cloak stuff is like super weird. What I'm referring to is there's this part where there's a guy in a cage. That was part of the book. I actually initially was very annoyed, and then I remembered. I'm like, oh yeah, it was there. Okay, cool. Some of that's like fair enough. They found a Yeoman in the cage, and it was whatever. Oh yeah, so they introduced Tom Maryland, who's probably one of my favorite characters of the series. He kind of is there, and he pops in this guy's thing and this guy's thing, and he just permeates the whole. He's a really terrific supporting character, and the introduction to him was like kind of okay, but it really wasn't. He's not the right age, so that was kind of weird, because Tom Maryland's supposed to be like a very spry 45-year-old with very pronounced mustaches and gangly, like basically somebody who used to be a gymnast. But, you know, he's very nimble with his hands. He's very agile with his movements. He's a terrific song guy, terrific on the, not the guitar, but whatever musical instrument. He's a man of, he's a, what is it? Man of many talents, a jack of all trades. He's like the definition of a jack of all trades. And he should be handsome. And I'm not knocking the actor that they chose. Just understand that when you introduce someone like that, for fans like me, it's just supposed to be a certain way. And they didn't do that. They did this other thing. And while part of it was cool, it just felt like it was hollow. Like it was 75% of what it could have been. And I didn't feel like there was any real need to. Oh, yeah. So there's this weird thing with the barkeep, which is another thing. I don't know why they're forcing modern how bars run on this fantasy setting. Like, there's no barkeep. There is the owner of the bar, and it's a bar and inn, okay? And they make food, and then there is serving girls, serving wenches, whatever you want to call them. That's it. There isn't this like normal like bartender situation, and there is a running thread in the books to meet the person who owns the inn, but they kind of did this other weird thing with like a barkeep and like blah blah blah, and she's hitting on him, but she thinks that like Rand is gay, but Rand's like, I'm not gay, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, why are we doing this? Is so weird, so unnecessary. It's 10 minutes of just malarkey, and it brings up this whole thing where it's just like, and then Rand uses like this power to break through, and it's just, what's so weird is they spent so much time creating all this stuff. They spent half the episode creating all this stuff for Matt and Rand, and in the book it's like 5 minutes. it's not long. They didn't have to do all this stuff. It's like, oh, this person, and they're in a hayloft, and then this person comes in, they're like, oh, and then person notices them, and then notices them, and then pulls out and tries to kill them, and Matt kills her. And it's like, whoa, shoot, what the heck? We need to get out of here. Like, that's the scene. What they did was this weird, stupid bastardization of it and changed up all the stuff to try and have this gimmicky, stupid moment of, oh, is Rand gay? And it's like, what? Why is that relevant at all to anything? And how is that? And it's just added inapplicable, whatever. Anyways, oh yeah, there's a scene where like Rand is running with his sword, and he's just like running as if he's like holding it, and he's like doing this or something, and he's just so weird and off-putting. And I understand the character isn't a swordsman, so I kind of understand. It was just it stuck out to me. There's this other thing, and I'll say this and then I'll end it. I was gonna try and cram in two, but this is kind of long. Maybe again, episode 4 is fine. Is the Aes Sedai are supposed to have this ageless look about them, and to me, I was like, well, no, they don't. Like in the book, they're supposed to, but in the show, they don't at all, and you're just left with, wait, what? Like you're supposed to look at them and not be able to immediately discern what age. Like, oh, they look like they're 45. Wait, no, they look like they're 19. I don't really know. Like, it's supposed to look like that. And what's weird to me is that they didn't do that at all. They didn't even bother. They didn't even try. I understand budgetary concerns, but if anyone who has Instagram could tell you, like, yeah, no, they can take people who are not super attractive and make them very attractive. That being said, with makeup, I feel like they could have taken Aes Sedai and have a 45-year-old look kind of indiscernible and had a 25-year-old look indiscernible. They could have done it with makeup. It could have been inexpensive and cheap, and they didn't do that. I don't feel like it was... I feel like it was a bad choice because there's supposed to be this kind of mystical quality about them, and it's very, 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 very frustrating that they didn't bother doing that at all. So, whatever. Anyways, that's episode 4. I apologize. That is episode 3 of the Wheel of Time critique. I still have 5 more of these to do. I'm sorry. I needed to kind of get my rant out. It's just, I hate the show. I hate what they're doing. I feel like the casting is all wrong. Even the art direction on it is like questionable at times. There is really awesome points to this, but again, when you try to combine 4 books or 3 books or even 2 books into one show, and you're like, well, it's 8 episodes long. That's 8 hours. Like Lord of the Rings, that was done in 9 hours, and I'm like, 9 hours in 3 books. And it's like, yeah, it's a totally different writing style. And if you had done it that way, sure, maybe you'd be able to do it, but you wouldn't do a very good job of it. So, yeah, I don't really have a good justification other than if they had done it the way that Lord of the Rings had done it, maybe it would have flied. But they didn't. They really screwed the pooch on this. So, I'm going to continue reviewing it. I'll get you more videos, do some more tomorrow. Looks like it stopped raining in LA, so I don't know, but it's supposedly going to be raining until Thursday, so we'll see. Anyways, I love you all. Play Man out. Bye.